This is step 2 of my full planning system, and the way that my Nancy connects to my Rose planner is that Rose gives me the guidance and overview of what I'm going to do for the month, but my Nancy is telling me how I'm going to make those things happen day in and day out of my crazy weeks. So let's move into February together, and I'll show you how I'm currently using it and what changes I'm going to make as we move through the rest of the month and staying focused for the rest of 2026. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to move into my small Nancy planner, which this is my part 2 of my full planning process. So if you're interested in part 1, that is my large Rose planner. This is the foundation planner I start with because all of this feeds into each of my other planners. So the playlist for 2026 move-ins will be linked in my description below. But right now it is all about my small Nancy planner. So even if you do just use one planner, I think you'll get a lot out of this video because Nancy really does a lot for me. So I'm able to really have a view of what my work and life balance looks like because I track in everything for my weeks, my individual days, and also just have everything for my clients, my side hustle, and just like all of my home routine. So this planner layout really is very versatile and can really hold in a lot of information. So I'm going to give you a tour of what changes I made to the planner. So I always add my word of the year, kind of my inspiration and my background of my desktop, laptop, and iPad. So they're just kind of like my favorite little quotes and little daily reminders that I love to have in all of my planners. And then in my front, I already made some of the changes to the pages that come with the planner. So I keep the 2026 here, but this page is new and it's part of the quarterly inserts pack. And so I'll show you how I'm using those in this planner because I did buy them also for my large Rose planner. But what I did is I moved this to the front of the page because essentially in my Nancy planner, because I like to have my home life and also like my side work for all of my marketing clients, I like to separate the front of my planner and the back of it. So basically everything in the front is having to do with my client overviews. And so this year overview here, I'm going to be tracking any specific like campaigns and themes that we worked throughout for the year. And this will be all for my client things. And then in my yearly plan, I'm going to be able to track all of the time frame of those campaigns that I'm helping organize or big events I'm helping organize. That way I can have a real good year in review and know exactly when things are going to be happening for my clients. That helps me organize obviously everything else around my personal life and be able to work on specific projects or what I'm working on here and there based off what kind of that quarter is going to look like for my client work as well. So in the quarterly inserts pack, like I mentioned, you're going to get this page, which is the back of one of the yearly plan pages. So you do get another yearly plan if you wanted more than one in your planner. That pack does have the yearly plan for you to see. And then the back of this one is just additional note space. So here I'm able to take notes on anything related to any of those campaigns or events specifically in my client world. And the quarterly inserts are going to be for those specific projects we're working on and breaking down task lists for each of those big campaigns or events, and same concept with the note space in the back. So I loved the quarterly inserts because they're already divided into the three. There is another insert that Laurel Denise has, and it's the 4 column, which is also a great insert. And I already have that one, but I did love that this was already just kind of labeled out for each quarter. And it just, for me, I don't have to go in and draw either more lines or break it apart to how I want it to work. I feel like this is just the perfect amount of space for what I'm using it for. And obviously they're inserts, so you can put them in any area of your planner that you're wanting. But for me, because I like to separate my work and my home life in this planner, this was just a very fun way to be able to do that and really have that separation. So everything up front will be just that. And then of course I have the second half of the year with the 2026. I don't really use these pages, but in the back of the page, I do use the 2027. So anytime I am planning anything for home or clients, I will make a note here of something that I know is either going to be repeated next year or something I want to remember for next year. I will definitely go ahead and put it here. And then what I did here, I got this from somebody in our Facebook community for the Laurel Denise page. But they take their Post-its with them in their planners too. Now, I obviously always take my actual little Post-it pack with me everywhere I go, but I found that sometimes I don't like really remember which ones I'm using for that month. This would be perfect when I saw it. So all I did is I got a stack of each of the Post-its that I've used, and I just kind of have a stack of all of the different sizes. So this is a combination of different Post-its that I have. So not all of them are from the exact same one because I do have the full collection of all the Post-its. So I just kind of put in some of my favorites here that I use. So that's what I'm using this page for because I don't really use my wins and lessons in here. I do that in my journal. So now, because of the insert pack, I now have another yearly plan in the back of my planner. And this one, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do yet, but I think I'm going to do, since this is more on all of my personal things, I might do the same thing I'm doing in my Rose planner, which I showed in my other video of like kind of grading my day. But I also thought that I can kind of plan out when our travel times are. We do like to splurge on at least 2 big trips in the year. And I kind of feel like if I track it based off of my husband's work schedule, I might be able to color coordinate and then find like those perfect sweet spots for it. So I'm not really sure yet on that one, but I think that's going to be the intention for that. And then I did take out a lot of the back pages on this planner as well because I don't really use them. So all of the planners come with additional checklists, grid and dot note space, but I removed them because I added additional inserts with the quarterly pack here. So you see that there's these here. And I didn't want it to be too much. So I was going to leave the checklist here as well, and then I will just have like one note space. But really the checklist I don't use in the back page. I have the insert pack of this one, so I like to bring it into the month that I'm currently working on, and you'll see that in a little bit. So a lot of these back pages, I'll just trim them out and just store them in the case I really want to add them back or if I just need additional space. But for the most part, I really don't use anything else in the back. And I just like to have what I know I'm going to need. So let me show you currently January, and then we'll zoom in through February. But this is what my overall January looks like. As you can see, I have my left side focus and my right side focus. So I try to do like everything related to home schedules on this side, and then anything with client projects or my content I put on the right hand side. So even in my weekly space, you'll see that I like to separate it that way as well. So I kind of keep the flow the same. So I always mimic, of course, my main schedule here from the Rose Planner. And then I will also draw a line, and on the left hand side of this column, I re-note my main appointments as well here. So it's still here, but it's also here. And I know that's like overkill, but I also have it in my digital planner because when I'm in the zone, oh, let me get my baby out of the way, guys. This is my baby Stella. She's a big mama's girl. But whenever I do have a lot of things going on, and if I'm not looking at directly in my calendar, then, you know, with my digital calendar, at least it's reminding me. So that's kind of what I do there. Here is like my actual task list for the day. And so this is going to be based off of what tasks I've committed to myself for my Rose Planner and anything else that I essentially really have to do. And then here is where I separate my home and like client stuff. Sometimes I will focus in on one or the other, just kind of depending if I have a lot going on or not. January was a little slow for client work, so I did just focus more on like what routines I was creating for my home and other things I had to do for you guys on my Planner Hoot channels. So that is kind of how I'm separating everything in. And then for the right side inserts, I added the right side calendar. And what I like to do here is I think I started this in mid-November, and then I really worked with this in December. And I liked that I was able to really see what I really had planned out for content on here. So again, since it was a slower work, it was more about, this was more like planner hoot stuff. But I really liked to be able to see it. Usually all of my client work is in a digital calendar because I share that with them, so we're able to see everything at the exact same time. But it's also nice for me to be able to see it because sometimes I work on my computer all day, every single day. And so there's times throughout the day when I just want to disconnect. I don't want to see anything digital. And so having everything in my planner just kind of gives me that more, I guess, like mental clarity sometimes of just like writing things out, working things through a random notebook instead of just having to be on the computer. So that's just my little spill there. And then behind this, I was just taking notes on some of those projects that I was going to be working on. And then these other inserts that I added. So this one I started in December and I brought it into January, but I didn't really do a lot of my videos that I wanted to do because it was a slower work world for me in December and January for clients. But my family business was really busy, so I didn't get to do as many videos as I wanted. But the intention of this checklist is to be able to track the progress of all of the videos I am planning on working on. So I'm going to do a new one for February and maybe bring some of these in, but also just really the ones I'm going to be working on for sure for the month, have them already written in. And this just kind of helps me keep track of things that I should be doing for each of the videos so that I don't overwhelm myself with trying to create a lot of things also. And then this other insert that I use every once in a while, it's not an everyday or every week thing, but I will time block my week in review before I start actually working in on any big projects. This is never set in stone. The only thing I do on my time block week is have everything that is already in my schedule as far as appointments, deadlines, or meetings, and then I'll plan around that. So every week this can change, and it's only when I know I have a lot of things going on that I really want to make sure that I'm spacing out my time in an effective and efficient way. And then the back of my pages are always just like space to write things down, bring in little post-its when I either finish with them or I'm just like reminding myself of things. I'll put them here. And every month I do have just a long little post-it that keeps me of things that are coming up that week. I'm sorry, that month. And that way, when I actually move into the month, I'll know when to be able to put that around here. So you'll see that I just kind of use post-its as I move through anything in advance. So that is how I use my Nancy, but I am going to speed through how I actually set it up and connect it to my rows. And there is a change that I'm going to make and try out for this month. So I will get back to you guys here briefly when I finish setting it up so that you can see my February layout. So I finally finished my February layout. You can see I was kind of scrambling for my banner stickers because I just was confused. I really brought all of the different sizes because I wanted to find some for my Christy, and then also now that I have some inserts. So it took me a little moment there, but I got that figured out. And I did also have a lot of technical difficulties while I was filming my speed through. Usually that does take me about like 45 minutes. So my camera died, my light died, a lot of things happened. But anyway, we're back. And this is how I ended up laying out my February. So you'll see that it's very similar to what I showed you guys to my January. My weeklies usually stay the same, and it has been like this. I think this is going on the fourth planner from Laurel Denise, that it just stays the same for me and it just works. So I'll kind of give you another review here. Again, on my left side, these are all of my main appointments that are already scheduled in my digital calendar, my husband's work schedule, what shifts he's working, and then where I'm giving myself those like bonus hours based off of when he's working those weekends. And then, of course, on the weekends that he's off, I don't have anything planned out there. So this is what I'll kind of base myself off when I'm actually bringing in all of the tasks from my Rose planner that are based off of my goals. So I didn't bring in my weekly routine for my home things just because I wanted to show you guys the actual process of just relating to goals oriented tasks. So as you can see, I basically, let me get it back from, I usually have it propped up there, but so what I do is I just bring in all of these tasks that I've scheduled in. I'll put them on the day where I scheduled them. If I already have a lot going on my actual appointment days, then I'll go ahead and put this just on my this week column, and then I'll shuffle it around based off what my actual day is going to be as I move in on my daily tasks. So that's just one of the things that I like to do. Since my appointments aren't too crazy at the moment, I've set everything exactly where I set it on my Rose planner. So that just gives me, again, that review of like, this is what you said you were going to commit to, so make it work. And I do my line here, and I'll mimic all of my appointments for these days as well. And then I'll just do the exact same every single week. I do go in with a like an erasable when I remember, but I'll put that in there, especially with like my coaching and my client calls, because if something comes up, sometimes they're running businesses, so if their schedule changes, I can go ahead and schedule out those anything with my clients. But for the most part, my appointments will be highlighted on this right or left side calendar. And then you'll see that I just bring in everything from those tasks, and I just put them in those same stickies because we can have that flexibility to change things around. So all of my weeks are already set up. I do like to put a post-it when I know my husband is working. That way, when I'm looking ahead, I know that this weekend is off limits. So, the big change that I did for my February, as you guys may have seen, is I changed the calendar insert that I'm using to plan out projects and content for myself and for my clients. So, instead of having the right side insert, which was this one, this is what I had for January, and I'm changing it to this. So I feel like with this one, I get a really good view of project only, and then what kind of dedicated time I'm putting to the videos that I'm going to be creating for the month. And so I liked this because then the back is also just full notes. This one was too, but I feel like because my squares are bigger now, I'm able to really focus on the color coordinating, so I know exactly the time frame that I'm working on those projects. So I'm going to try this out for February, but I think I like the view of it because you see how I can like really just hone in on that if I'm going to focus on anything from this side of my planner. So I can easily now flip it over and just like kind of like, okay, this is what I'm doing, but here's your big overview. So this helps me really see everything, but also when I am on a client call or a meeting comes up or anything, I can have a really big picture view of where I can either add in projects or deadlines or make those adjustments that I need to do. So I'm really liking this. And then, just if you're interested, this banner sticker ended up being for the Scout planner that worked for the small rose insert planner. So just as an FYI. And this one, when I did it, it was perfect because this side fit this side. But since I changed it up, I was kind of stuck there. But anyway, that it looks pretty. So that's what I'm adding in. Oops, sorry. So that's what I'm adding in for February. And then I did make my new checklist for February. So these are basically the videos that I am planning for this month. And then we'll see how it goes and if I stay on track with them. But this is where or what I want to create for you guys. And then this is kind of the plan of when they'll be posted out for you all. So I'm going to stick to my checklist, which I love. And then again, this is just my dump space for any extra post-its or things that don't get done and what I have to remember going on to the following month. I do always start with this. This is, I'll put all of my notes here. And what I'll do is once this is already in my schedule, then I'll take it out. So that way, this is just really a big space for notes. So that is all. So my Nancy planner is all set up. I do go into the full month, especially when I know there's going to be a lot of things coming up. I do a weekly reset just to make sure that every Monday I'm ready for the rest of the week and I'm not going to have to, interrupt my weekly flow to set up my week. But for the most part, I like to do that on Fridays. But I do the reset of just for my schedule, but not as far as the actual layout because that's already done. And so I love to just be able to dive in right away on my Monday. So definitely love this planner. Now, my third step for my planning process is my Christie planner. So this will be the next planner that I focus on with you guys. But if you guys have any questions about my Nancy planner setup, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your feedback. I want to know what questions you guys have so that I can make sure to answer that in the content that I am providing. I will have several links in my description if you're interested for additional resources that I'm currently working on. I am going to be hosting a February follow through challenge. If you're interested in that, the link for the waitlist will be there as well. So thank you guys again for watching part 2, and I will see you guys in part 3. Have a great day.